Let me properly introduce Howard. He's the founder and CEO of Capital. It's not Logix, it's Logix, okay. And it's an AI trading systems company that essentially provides its users with hedge fund in a box. Prior to Capital Logix, Howard was active in corporate legal practice, which he worked from 1987 to 1993. Howard has a passion for helping people define purposes in their life and presented the time value of life worth living. Howard attended Duke University, where he earned his undergraduate in philosophy and psychology. He also obtained both an MBA and a JD from Northwestern University. So let's turn some time over to Howard.
Most of the people in this room have enough gray hair that if you look back on your career and you tried to figure out how to tell the story, it makes a whole lot of sense going from now backwards. You can draw the thread. But if you looked at it from the beginning, didn't almost everything you do seem random, and a whole bunch of things that you thought were terrible turned out to be some of the best things that happened? I've now got a platform that's 100% autonomous AI that runs hedge funds. And I was talking to a young person in our intern program, and they said, "How did you get started?" And the interesting thing is I didn't really know. But I actually think it started when I was 2. And the reason is I told my mom that the nanny was hitting me and my brother and was locking me in the basement. My mom slapped me and told me, "You're not allowed to lie." And 2 weeks later, my brother died. And over the course of my life, there have been a number of events like that where the meat suit that we carry around gets distracted by fear, by greed, by discretionary mistakes. And I really wish that I could find a way to help make better decisions. I think it's why I was a psychology and philosophy major. But really my whole life, my whole career has been about thinking about how people make better decisions. How do you know something? What is truth? What is real? And I realize that's a heady way to start a presentation like this. But the truth is, AI is at a tipping point. The CEO of Google recently said he thinks that AI is going to become as important to humanity in our future as fire. I've said for years that I look at what's happening with AI as the same as the invention of electricity or the internet. It's going to change everything and in ways you never thought. So my presentation is going to be pretty quick. I'm going to go through stuff fast, but it's in 2 stages. The first is I'm going to show you a little bit about how I think about AI in my business. And then the second part is I'm going to give you a framework that I use to predict or imagine the future. And I think you're going to find that this presentation relates to you even if you're a real estate person or somebody that sells airplanes. So I just wrote a book called Next on Wall Street. It's not out yet. It's finished. I just have to finish editing it. And I'm actually going to have Alan help me with it a little bit. But I call it the new world of trading. And the reason is the old world of trading is people traded against people. Markets represented the collective fear and greed of populations, and even chart patterns could be looked at from a psychological perspective. An ascending triangle is kind of an arm wrestling match between the bulls and the bears. But then something happened. In the new world of trading, computers got involved. Trading's all about finding asymmetric advantage, okay? And a lot of times it's an information asymmetry. And computers gave people a huge edge. And you've heard of high frequency trading. It's a rush to be the fastest. But the new world of trading is where we don't trade against people. We don't even really trade against machines. We're trading against AI. And I'll give you a statistic later, but I'll pre-frame it for you. 99% of trading is now electronic. 70% is algorithmic. But the algorithms are basically like a light switch. It's on or off pretty much, really simplistic. Less than 2% of trading is done by AI. But if you came back in 5 years, that number is going to be way, way higher. And if you came back in 10 years, it's going to be 70%. And if you came back in 20 years, it's going to be 99%. But the same is going to be true in your business as well. Biggest problem in the market is too much information. Everybody thinks if they just had a little bit more, but really it's signal versus noise. There's so much stuff, you can hear whatever you want to hear. The next problem is, if something's been done the same way for, let's say, 6 months or longer, chances are it's not being done right, because the practical realities of time, technology, and what's possible mean that you can upgrade. But so many businesses are built for the way that it used to be done. I'm going to tell you, you guys out here understand the law of the farm, right? Winter, spring, summer, and fall. Almost everybody would agree it's springtime for AI, but not for you if you don't plant. It doesn't matter that it could grow. Right now is when you have to start thinking about what's possible. Not because you're going to be good at it, you're going to suck at it. You're going to find that it's really hard to achieve what you want to achieve. It's really easy to think grand thoughts, but there's this giant trough of disillusionment when you realize how hard it is to actually do certain things. But once you get past that, AI is now good enough to do almost anything. It's not good enough to do everything. It's not a general intelligence, but we can make it do almost anything. So the new paradigm, I call it 23-second trading. When my dad first got stock, it was on his wedding day. And I remember it was the affiliated fund, a blue chip fund, and I know because he owned it when he died. If you were to look at every transaction on the New York Stock Exchange over the last year, and you looked at when they bought, when they sold, you have humans who buy, hedge funds who buy, high frequency trading firms. The average amount of time between a purchase and sale is 23 seconds. Now you may shake your head and go, that doesn't matter to me, but what if it could? The reason it doesn't matter to you is you don't have the ability to ingest that data, learn from it, and figure out what it's telling you. But some people do. And it's changing everything. The same is true in your business. Most people think AI is going to help me predict the market. We don't use AI to predict the markets. We use AI to do a lot of things, but not that. But in your business, it might be to figure out which customer segment is most profitable, or how to reduce the cost of goods sold, or if you're going to release this product, should you release this other product or take this other product off the market? It's about portfolio construction, risk management. There's so many different things you can use it for. I make a joke. The old style of trading is dead. Luckily for us, not all the old traders are. This is true in almost every business. I was talking to an older portfolio manager last night, somebody who actually spoke here. And one of the things that was so cool is they recognized that they made most of their money when they were doing something a little bit different than everybody else. If you do the same thing with the same data as other people, you don't have an edge. But if you can find a way to have newer, different information and to actually come at the problem a different way, and in AI they call it dimensionality, you can do some really interesting things. And what AI is really going to do is help you come up with new and better products faster. So let me tell you a teeny bit about trading. Humans have a genetic, biological, hard-coded imperative to reproduce, to spread your seed. It's the only way your line continues. Evolutionarily, you will find that that is just true. Markets exist to trade. It's really weird, but if you understand, markets exist to trade. The only way anybody gets paid is if there are more trades. Things are growing or dying. The regulator gets paid, the auditor gets paid, the broker gets paid, the trader gets paid, even the person buying and selling, it's all trades. So understand that this is a function that causes them, it's a force of nature. It's not one I can change, it's one I have to understand its playing field. In order for there to be more trades in the same amount of time, they have to get shorter and shorter. It's the only way that you're going to have more and more things. But every trade is the result of a disagreement. Somebody thinks it's going to go up, somebody thinks it's going to go down. In selling, you've heard an undisturbed prospect doesn't buy. Well, in trading, an undisturbed person doesn't buy or sell. And so confusion is the actual engine that the market uses to produce trades. Doesn't it make sense? If you want to have more trades, there has to be more confusing information because somebody has to look and go, I am confident, I want out. Somebody else has to confidently say, I want in. Okay. Well, then the only thing that you can really predict about the market is that there's going to be increased volatility and noise. But if you know this, you can build models that exploit that. This is fundamentally true. Meanwhile, you can't predict random. So to me, markets are random to me. Even though I see patterns, I can't tell what order the patterns are going to come because I'm not Trump. So when I tweet, things don't happen the way it did for him. But I'm also not Kim Jong-un. I didn't create the global pandemic. I didn't invent the snowpocalypse. There are things that happen that cause enough randomness that why spend even $1 trying to predict random? So you could give up and say, well, then you can't use AI in markets. That's wrong. Here's a business truism. Focus on the thing that doesn't change, not all the things that do. So as a hedge fund manager, markets are always going to change. So is the algorithm that's going to be the best. So I can't focus on that. That's simply raw data coming in. Those are sensors in a network. But if I figure out what's filling my cup or draining my cup, and I get better at doing that faster, that's something that doesn't have to change. The market or the technique that's filling it is going to change, but my ability to measure what's actually showing me we're moving in the right direction can be fixed. So with AI, you actually have to figure out what capability do you really want to call into existence. And so the way I would say that is, if you don't know what your edge is, you don't have one. It's just as true in any business. What's your edge? So this is tongue-in-cheek, but only invest in something while it's working. The goal of our AI is not to predict something. It's to know something faster. And if I know something faster, I can take definitive action while other people are taking tentative action. Doesn't that sound like business advice? Yeah. Well, this is how you're going to use AI in your business too, right? The truth is, in the new world, and I'll say of economics, data is the precious commodity. And it really is a lot like crude oil because you have to figure out where the data exists. You have to pump it. You have to refine it. You have to figure out what you're going to use it for. And you have to figure out how to deliver it where it needs to go fast enough so that it's useful. So welcome to the new world of finance. It's not Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It's not Dallas, Texas. It's not New York City. It's the data center. But the same is going to be true in your business. If you have the right tool, it's easy to do the right job. In AI, it's really about bringing order to chaos and then finding finer distinctions because that's where wisdom comes from, right? AI is cool, but artificial stupidity is scary. And that's how come, by the way, you can't make mistakes at light speed. That's really dangerous. That's why the heartbeat of AI is still human. Mediocrity is incredibly expensive. That's how come you see so many people. I've spent $40 million building our platform. And I've done it in slow motion because I understand that this is a long game, but the stakes are big. It's an elegant use of brute force, and it's really about more ways to win. So now, in the second part of this, I really want to show you how you can imagine this And it says text BBC to 972-992-1100. That will get you the presentation, including the forms that I'm going to share with you, but it'll also get you my weekly link list where it's the cool stuff that I see about technology and business, and it never sells anything, but it's a really good newsletter. All right, so we've now switched to the second part. This is going to apply directly to your business. I'm going to teach you a framework. I think it's going to be good. So have you ever noticed that if you buy a red Tesla, then you see a red Tesla everywhere? It's like, even though you didn't see them before, all of a sudden you see it everywhere. Well, one day I was thinking, what do you think started Tesla? I mean, it didn't just become Tesla. Every single process has a beginning, a middle, and an end. There was something that was the first idea. And I believe that it's always a capability. So maybe it was the idea for clean energy. Maybe it was the battery. Maybe it doesn't matter what it was. Something was the initial capability. And then somebody said, well, what can you do with it? So I'm going to speed up by showing you the framework. Let's assume it was the electronic engine. Imagine that you're Elon Musk. Somebody says, hey, I've got this electronic engine and I think it's going to be cool. The first thing he's going to do is throw shade and say, yeah, but what can it power? I mean, and what he's saying is it needs to do more. The first thing you're going to do is figure out the key capabilities and the constraints, okay? But when something satisfies your need, it doesn't satisfy your desire. It actually makes you hungry for more. So think about each capability as a little Lego. And as soon as you've got this Lego, the first time you as a person see a new capability, it's called so what, who cares? If it doesn't help you do what you already do better, so what, who cares? It's over. But if it does do that, you get greedy and you think, what else could it do? Or what else should I do? So could or should, right? And so now you start to stack the capabilities. And in the 80-20 rule, this is the 20% of stuff that gets 80% of the initial benefit. So we call that a prototype. So now imagine you're Elon Musk. You're standing at a test track, and the scientist has what looks like one of those golf carts running with the engine. And he's like, look, we're going to be able to have a car. And the first thing Elon's going to say is, does it go 300 miles? Because if it doesn't go 300 miles, nobody's going to buy it, right? I mean, the constraint is the first thing you think about. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is this framework that I'm about to show you is capability, prototype, product, and then platform. Each one is a massive scaling opportunity. And the trick is to do this for your industry, not your company. You want to figure out a map before you're lost in the woods. If you understand the capabilities that people are going to want, you can understand where money's going to flow, and then you can say, this is the natural path. I want to build this along that path so that you're taking advantage of nature rather than fighting it. So the product was an affordable mass market vehicle. Don't you know they needed charging stations everywhere? Because if you ran out of gas in Iowa in a cornfield, nobody would buy it. And it had to work in every state because if Nevada said you couldn't drive in Nevada, it would fail. So the constraints actually show you the capabilities that are needed. This isn't about predicting technology. This is about predicting what human nature is going to desire. And then the platform is this new, not only Tesla series of cars, he's created an energy company. The power company is going to be worth more than the car company. And then the ability to update the cars over the internet is something he's going to sell to every other car company so that they can update a car the same way your iPhone updates apps. And what you realize is what used to be a product becomes the prototype for the next level. And so start to think about how this is going to work in your industry. I'll show you the same thing in SpaceX, and I'll do it much faster. The initial capability was to win the X Prize, which was to take off, hit space, and be able to land and reuse the rocket. But very quickly it got to, I want to democratize space travel. Right now he's privatized space travel where he can bring something into space for 1/20th the cost that it used to cost. Well, that means that a whole bunch of other entrepreneurs are going to say, wait, I can do business in space. But now SpaceX's business isn't going to be to take you as a human on space travel. They're going to be the UPS or FedEx of creating new worlds. And then Starlink, the ability to communicate via satellite, is going to be the AT&T between universes. And you realize that the capability is something that you yourself look at and say, does it matter? The prototype is you and your team, people you know, doing something you know. The product is when people you don't know accomplish the thing you know. And the platform is when people you don't know do stuff with it that you never anticipated, and that's where the real money comes in. So as you think about your industry, what's going to be the next level of product and what's the next level of platform, then you think about your own unique ability, the stuff where you have superior skill, but where you also get energy, and you say, what should I build and where should I place it so that when those people come through, they say thank you. Again, people rarely try to accomplish what they don't believe is possible. This is where you start to think about what's possible. And actually, as an entrepreneur, I've always considered my job to make the impossible possible, to make the things that are possible likely, to take the things that are likely and make them inevitable, and take the things that are inevitable and just do them, right? So once you understand this map, you don't have to predict the future. You don't have to invent the best technology. By the way, human nature hasn't changed forever. We've been confronted with new capabilities from the beginning of time, right? Fire good, wheel good, fire wheel no good. Even though we're always going to be confronted with new technology, it's really about the capabilities and the greediness for next. So now that you understand it, so what, who cares is about the new capability. What's next is the what could I do or should I do. The product is how can it be good enough that people you don't know can accomplish the thing that you're looking at? And then the transformation, it changes the game that other people play. It literally changes the playing field. And it's where people you don't know do things that you don't anticipate. So in my own business, I could tell you how I did it, but ultimately, we got to a point where I had a fund run by autonomous AI. And literally it changes the economics of our business hugely. I can run our business for less than $5 million a year, actual real cost. I can't think of a corresponding hedge fund in New York that doesn't pay one partner in their firm that. I can release a new product in a matter of hours or days that would take them months or quarters. It's changing the way the game is played, okay? But here's the thing that happened to me. I realized that I had artificially constrained our business because I continued to apply it to the thing that I wanted to apply it to. And in a sense, I think about the engine that I created as a financial product generator, something that can create a new fund, a new ETF, a new financial product, an insurance wrap product. But really, I invented this series of equations, algorithms, automations, validations, testing tools, all those things that are so boring. I called it an insight engine. But the thing it was a way to amplify intelligence. The noun, the insight engine, verbs something. And the verb was amplified intelligence. What people want is to make better decisions, take smarter actions, and continually improve performance. So then the idea was, why not make that platform create products in many industries? And now all of a sudden, the economics are different. So I'm challenging you to do that for yourself. Think about your industry. Think about the long-term map of what you believe the next generation of products and platforms are going to be, and then figure out how you can take advantage of that. Because your imagination's your ultimate competitive advantage. I've got that form that'll help you. You can do anything you commit to, so be careful what you commit to. And I hope that helps. That's the book that's going to come out next summer. And 972-992-1100, just text BBC. We'll get you all of this plus the newsletter. I hope that gave you a sense of what's going on. And